How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. Over on Dixie for the daily, we're pretty flat. We have an indecision candle, so I would watch for a pullback. If we see a pullback, that could be positive for crypto. Usually they're inversely related, but they have been a little more correlated lately. Momentum does want to round, that VWAP is pulling back, money flow does want to reject, so I would watch. That could end up resulting in further weakness. Over on the 1 hour, price action is kind of price range locked, so we do have a bit of a consolidation range that could try to create a bull flag that would try to push us toward that 103. However, that stochastic is pulling back, VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is dropping, so I would watch. If that continues, we likely will see money flow continue to pull away, and we could start breaking EMAs and then push down to the 102 instead. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we have a big tear up, so Bitcoin is outperforming our altcoins. That's really all it means. Bitcoin gained, altcoins lost. Stochastic is pushing up, RSI is gaining strength, momentum is pushing forward, VWAP is gaining strength, and that money flow is bullish, so we could continue our gains against altcoins. Over on total, we did push up toward the top of our golden pocket, but we did get rejected. Again, more on that in the Mastering the Trade link. Click that if you want to learn what that is. That's on our Fibonacci retracement zone. Momentum does want to push up. VWAP is bullish and money flow is in the green, so we do look positive still. Stochastic is pushing up, but RSI is starting to pull back, so I would watch that VWAP and our RSI here. Over on our 1 hour, we did break above our EMA channel, and then we saw our EMA bands start to round. We did warn, like right back here, that once you see these bands start to round, you can give up your price gains. So once that blue and that yellow started to kind of bend here, we did end up getting that breakdown. RSI is pulling back, stochastic is dropping, VWAP is favoring bearish. Watch for a rejection. If we get a rejection or lower highs, we could start to favor bearish, which will cause money flow to continue to drop, and money flow, our momentum will drop, and then money flow will follow, because the momentum does lead that money flow and VWAP leads our momentum. So over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we did push forward. We didn't really go too far, so I will delete this gold line as just on a gap, but we didn't really go too far. Stochastic is pushing up, RSI is starting to curl, the VWAP is pulling back, and momentum is rounding. So despite this push up, we do have bearish divergence as that momentum is making lower highs. Stochastic is also making lower highs, but price is making higher highs. Remember, when you get bearish divergence, that kind of spreads apart. Usually you do end up spitting down to the ground. So over on the 1 hour here, we do want to run up. We did see a pretty quick move up, and remember, a quick move up usually is retraced by a quick move down, and we saw that almost immediately. That was a bearish engulfing candle, but that bearish engulfing candle was not followed by a red candle, so we did try to bounce off of it. RSI is starting to pull back as that stochastic weakens, momentum is rounding with the red dot, and that VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory with a lower high, so watch for lower lows or consistent lows. And then those highs continue to weaken. If we see those highs continue to weaken while we kind of flutter around the bearish territory, we could end up getting a breakdown, kind of like back here. Price did push forward despite that VWAP breakdown, but remember, usually when VWAP does pull back, price will follow. That momentum and money flow were on a tear, so that was kind of the outlier here where momentum and money flow are starting to fall now. So over on Bitcoin for the daily, if I can click the right button there, we did retest our neckline. We do have an indecision candle. So if followed by a red candle, we could see a rounding top and retest our 63K. That would not be the ideal situation. Ideally, we would continue to bounce forward here and see a green candle tomorrow. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is trying to gain strength, VWAP is pushing forward, momentum is pushing up as well, and that money flow is gaining strength due to VWAP and momentum pushing up. So we do look positive, at least on the daily. Over on the 1 hour, we did kind of warn when we saw this big green candle. We were halfway in this red candle. We said you may want to consider taking profits, so maybe you could have taken a scalp trade by maybe selling off some of your position if you didn't already at that point, as we did get about half of our break forward, and you don't want to get greedy because pigs get slaughtered. So we're going to delete this pattern soon. So we did end up pulling back. We did break back into our pattern, but we did push forward. So if you watch what we say, we said, usually tell you watch for those retests. So you pulled back in, you did not stay in that channel for very long. You did end up breaking free of the channel, we didn't really get much of a scalp move that could be made off of that, but there is some positivity to this bounce back forward. We do have some higher highs here, a high here, a high here, and some higher lows, a low here and a higher low here. And these highs and lows do not connect, so that's positive because remember that creates a bullish continuation channel to continue to push us up. So despite me deleting that pattern, we could still try to push towards 70k if that VWAP can break bullish and hold. Right now, that VWAP is kind of curling away from that neutral, and we do have a lower low with the lower high. If that VWAP fails to get higher highs with higher lows from here, momentum will break down, money flow will push away, and we will round away. However, if that VWAP does break bullish and then holds over the next few hours, we do have the potential to still see a push forward because of that bullish continuation possibility. So you could have sold in when we warned, bought in when you saw the market was kind of going sideways. You could have seen the bears did try to break our EMA. We did hold. That could have been your cue that you may want to get in. You would have also seen that our VWAP did kind of spike bearish, but then it pushed back up. So that push back up could have been your cue. We may run forward. But again, I would watch very close because we still do have lower highs and lower lows with that. So despite that being a scalp trade opportunity, which is very risky, we could end up pulling back yet. So over on graph for the daily, we did kind of pull back. We did reject this orange EMA, so that's about our middle ground EMA, the orange and red are. Stochastic is starting to round, our size pulling back. VWAP is starting to push down, money flow is starting to weaken, and that VWAP, if it continues to drop, will cause that money flow to break down. So pay very close attention. We do have higher highs with higher lows, but we are seeing a little bit of a pullback. This is a decent pullback though, because remember, we did push up very quickly, and you do want to see retracements. Otherwise, if you just shoot up to the moon, you will come crashing down and burning. So over on the 1 hour, we do have lower highs and lower lows here. I would watch that could end up breaking us down. They do make some sort of a straight channel here if you exclude this and call that a freak breakup. That being said, that could be a descending channel to help push us forward. Stochastic does want to make a bounce. That VWAP is getting a higher high compared to this wave here, and we are trying to make a consistent high compared to here. We also have some higher lows that could help push us forward, push that momentum higher. That momentum does have a double green dot. Money flow is bouncing. So if that VWAP does continue above this neutral area of that zero right here, then we can see momentum start to gain strength. Money flow will continue further, and those higher time frames will continue to strengthen, and we could still see a push forward yet. Over on Ankr for the daily, we are kind of fluttering around that point of control. We did have that rising channel, and it did end up breaking us down. That's a lower time frame pattern, so we'll get on that in the 1 hour. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is starting to curl. That VWAP does have higher highs and higher lows, so that is positive, pushing momentum up and giving money flow strength. But if that VWAP ends up breaking down on lower time frames, we could see that retrace, so keep an eye on that. Over on the 1 hour, we did have that rising channel. We don't have the breakdown, but that red candle would have been about the full breakdown. We did warn of that last night. We did hold our 300 EMA so far, but we have lower highs and higher lows. So lower highs and higher lows in this kind of manner creates a bit of a symmetrical triangle, which is a 50-50 pattern. So they can break up, they can break down. They're not the greatest to trade on. Ideally, you would trade on the confirmation of the breakup or the breakdown. Our stochastic is pulling back, RSI is weakening, VWAP does have lower lows, momentum is breaking down, and money flow is bullish. So if that VWAP can break through and hold, then we can see money flow remain green. That would push higher time frames up. But if that VWAP does reject here, we would see lower lows and then potentially a lower high, as we would reject that neutral, making a new high and then pull back. So over on XRP for the daily here, we do have a break of that 54, so we did say you would want to see a retest and a hold. Currently, we are breaking, so I would watch those lower time frames. Stochastic is pushing up, RSI is starting to pull back, momentum wants to run forward, VWAP does have higher highs and higher lows, and money flow is trying to cling to the bullish territory, so watch those lower time frames. They'll kind of tell you which way we'll go. Over on the 1 hour, we did try to hold above that 300 EMA, and then we lost it. We do have lower highs and higher lows, so again, we could make a symmetrical triangle here, 50-50 pattern of breaking up and holding and breaking down and rejecting. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is starting to weaken, money flow is starting to taper off, and that VWAP is starting to curl, potentially making a lower high with this lower low, which could bring momentum lower and cause money flow to go from green to red. which would weaken higher time frames and cause a further sell-off. So I would watch. If we can't get above that EMA and hold, then it's likely bears will stay in control. So over on ALGO for the daily, we are seeing a little bit of a rejection here. We did say we could see some sort of a cup and handle, maybe an inverted head and shoulders. So I would still watch for that to happen. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is starting to curl. VWAP is getting higher highs with higher lows, pushing momentum and money flow higher. So that is positive, and that could help to continue us forward. But remember, we are still within a bearish pattern, so we can end up breaking down yet. Over on the 1 hour, we did try to reject our 300 EMA several times, and now we are trying to reclaim it. If we can get back above that EMA and push above the blue and green EMAs here, then we can continue further. We need to make higher highs with higher lows from here. Otherwise, this could be a descending channel. Well, descending channels push you up, so that could be positive, but it is a pretty sloppy area. We'll kind of have to map that. And maybe your channel right in there if you're having trouble seeing it. We would have 2 touches to the bottom, 3 if you would count here. So if we do approach the top and we don't break up, I would warn against a breakdown. Our stochastic does want to pull back. RSI is starting to weaken. Momentum does have lower lows with lower highs. VWAP does have lower lows, so I would watch. We could round out and make a lower high, which would cause us to reject our EMA and not see the bullish scenario. Over on Constellium, over on the daily, we are overall pulling back. Our RSI is weakening. Stochastic is starting to round away. VWAP does want to break bearish, but is trying to curl too. So I would keep an eye. If it can curl, we could make a higher low, and that could give us the momentum to push forward here and see a bounce. Momentum is losing strength and money flow is pulling back. So watch those lower time frames. Over on the 1 hour here, we are struggling with our EMA band. So we're struggling to hold above. Had to really zoom in here. So struggling to hold inside our EMA band, currently rejecting that blue EMA and yellow EMA pretty consistently. If we continue to do this, we'll likely see lower highs and lower lows, which could break us down. Remember, this would be that shoulder, head, and shoulder that we did warn about. This would be your neckline here. We did make a bounce against it, so we did not see our breakdown. I will delete our line, but we do have lower highs with potential lower lows here. Right now, they do not connect, so that could be a bearish continuation if we're not careful. VWAP does want to push up, but we're starting to kind of flatten out just under that neutral, so watch out for that to pull back. If it pulls back, that could be a lower high with this lower low, which will push momentum and money flow lower, weakening higher time frames and pushing us to the downside. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I appreciate all of you. Have a great